listening to the Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast with Tony D. Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast, your episodic dose of trivia covering all things video games and nerdy. Now, here's your host, Tony D.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast. On each episode, we go over questions on trivia about a specific topic, and today will be about the very first PlayStation. So how it works is I'll ask you a question, give you 5 seconds of silence, and then tell you the answer. And today there will be 3 rounds of 10 questions each. Alright, let's play. Round 1, question 1. How many shoulder buttons does the PlayStation controller have? That would be 4. Question 2. What color was the original PlayStation controller? That would be gray. Question 3. What was the name of the first controller with 2 analog sticks called? That is the DualShock controller. It also had vibration function. Question 4. What type of media did PlayStation games get released on? This would be CDs. Question 5. Which company created the PlayStation? That's, of course, Sony. Question 6. How many controller ports did the original PlayStation have? It had 2. Question 7. How many M-bits or megabits was the original PlayStation 1 memory cards? It was 1 M-bit, which is 128 K-bit. I always thought it was weird back then that things were measured in M-bit, but then on the computer side it was in bytes. So it was kind of misleading to see how they market the sizes of the memory cards. Question 8. How many save blocks were on the first memory cards? There were 15 blocks. Kind of weird for me to think back and be like, oh yeah, PlayStation memory cards had blocks of saves in it. It wasn't just purely by size. Kind of unheard of nowadays. Question 9. When was the PlayStation first released in Japan? That would be December 1994. And question 10. What year was the PlayStation released in North America? You kind of think about it, it's right after Japan, so it's 1995, and it was in September. Alright, that was round 1, hopefully not too hard, but let's get into round 2, which is a little bit more difficult. Question 1. Which video game was the best-selling licensed game on the PlayStation 1 based on a wizarding world from a children's book series? That would be Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or the Sorcerer's Stone. If you believe it or not, it actually had 8 million in sales and it was over on number 6 best-selling on the PlayStation 1. Question 2. What's the maximum resolution for a PlayStation 1? That would be 640 by 480. Question 3. Which company co-developed the PlayStation when it was originally supposed to be a CD-ROM peripheral in an existing game console? That would be Nintendo, so PlayStation was supposed to be a CD-ROM add-on to the Super NES, SNES, but that was a failed project, and then Sony was like, well, we got this design here, let's make our own thing and complete it. So you got Ken Kutaragi and the rest of the Sony team to thank for that. Question 4. What was the name of the memory card peripheral that had a mini personal digital assistant and an LCD screen, infrared communication capabilities, built-in flash memory, and sound capability exclusively in Japan? That is the Pocket Station. Question 5. Which PlayStation 1 peripheral is used to connect two different PlayStation 1s to play multiplayer games on different TVs? That would be the PlayStation Link cable. Question 6. What's the name of the controller used to physically play Dance Dance Revolution? That's of course the dance mat. Question 7. Gran Turismo is a series of racing simulation games that got its start on the PlayStation 1 in 1997. Who developed Gran Turismo? That would be Polyphony Digital. Question 8. What was the best-selling fighting game of the PlayStation 1? That would be Tekken 3. Question 9. What popular RPG introduced players to the adventures of Cloud Strife and was originally released on the PlayStation 1? That is, of course, Final Fantasy VII. And question 10. In the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night, what's the name of the vampire hunting protagonist? That is Alucard. Alright, let's head into the last round here, round 3. Maybe some of these might be a little bit more difficult, but we'll see. We'll see how you do. Question 1. What is the name of the port on the PlayStation 1 used for connecting different PlayStation devices and peripherals that are not just video game controllers? They seem to be used for cheat devices, kind of like Action Replay or Game Shark and things like that. That would be the I/O, or the input-output port. Question 2. What's the name of the gun peripheral that came with Time Crisis on PlayStation 1? That is Namco's Gun Con. Question 3. What iconic skateboarding game series developed by Neversoft got its start on the PlayStation 1? That is, of course, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Question 4. What's the maximum number of players supported by the original PlayStation 1's multi-tap accessory? That would be 4 players per multi-tap, so if you had 2 of them, you can get up to 8 players. Question 5. In Crash Bandicoot, what's the name of the main antagonist and evil scientist? That's Dr. Neo Cortex. Question 6. What's the name of the portable magnetic fitness bike that interacts with video games? This was on PlayStation 1 and several other platforms, and this comes with a DualShock controller and was developed by Deep Ridge Ltd. That would be Neo Racer. Question 7. What's the original PlayStation's codename during development? That would be the PlayStation X or the PSX. Kind of funny because the name kind of stuck with it when it was released. Question 8. Made by Interact. This was a memory card reader that allowed data transfer of memory cards between the console and the PC. This connected to the PC through a serial port. What was the name of this device? This was the Dex Drive. I thought this was really cool because back then it was like, okay, I have all these games, but I'm running out of memory on the memory card. I think I bought the memory card where when you press a button on there, they gave you another page of 15 blocks. And then I thought the Dex Drive was really cool because you basically had unlimited space because you would just connect to the computer. But it was too expensive, so didn't get it. Just got the other memory card like knockoff. Anyway, question 9. What was the internal model number for the original North American release of the PlayStation? That would be the SCPH-1001. So the Japan one was 1000 and US was 1001. And finally, super detailed question here, but what's the original PlayStation's primary CPU? This is the MIPS R3000. Alright, did you have a PlayStation when you were growing up? Did you know a lot of these trivia questions? Because I had a PlayStation, and I was a big PlayStation player when I was growing up. Some of these things that I found out, I discovered while I was just researching it to make this episode. Really interesting stuff. I mean, like, you know, as a kid, you don't really care about model numbers, you don't care about CPU, so it was really interesting to kind of like go back and look at that and be like, you know, oh, this is interesting because now I understand all these technical issues or technical terms that was used for the original PlayStation system. But, you know, as always, if you like this episode, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, anywhere you're listening to this podcast. It really helps us to reach more people. And thank you again for listening. You can always suggest more topics for the future by emailing me at vgntpodcast@gmail.com. But this is Tony, and until next time, Trivia on.